Hey everyone, it's me again, and it's time for a new episode of Hardly Working Hard. Today I'm going to talk to you about the work education balance. When you get out of high school, you can go right into the workforce and get a job as a cashier at your local supermarket, or you can go to college and then go on to medical school and become a doctor, or somewhere in between. And this is something I've noticed out of a lot of people over the years. I know a few people right now who, once they graduated from high school, as far as they were concerned, they were done with school. They had no interest in learning any kind of a skill or a trade or a profession or anything. They would just take the first job they could get, and they had no aspirations of doing any better for themselves. And they apparently are happy with that. That was never good enough for me. And although my way of doing things has made it a little bit more difficult for myself, but I've always learned and pushed harder and fought to get where I am. And I keep looking for ways to do bigger, better things. Now, uh, on one end of the spectrum, you got your people who their whole goal in life was to drink and get drunk and party every weekend. And those are the ones you see 30 years old pushing a lawnmower or changing a roof on a house for their job. Now, in these days of the Chung flu, I'll say 95% of them are doing that. The other 5% had real jobs and got laid off and are taking what they can get. At the other end, people who, say, for example, want to become like a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or something like that, where you have to really go out and get a lot of education and study and learn a lot before you can start in your profession. That's the high end of the scale. But nowadays, everyone is in this mindset of they must go to college and get a 4-year degree. And the problem is that oversaturates the job market with people who have college degrees. That's why you have so many people with a bachelor's degree in some stupid, useless, liberal arts, ancient, medieval European studies, French language, art, history, college degree who are working at Starbucks now. So you have to find yourself a middle ground. What is enough education to get you a good job, but not overdoing the education when it's not going to pay off for you down the road? And then the other end of the scale is if you don't learn and do anything, no one's going to hire you to get a good paying job. So you got to find the right way for you, I suppose. Now, what's disappointing to me is some of the people I know who chose to get no education whatsoever in their life, they could have done better. You know, they were never going to be a rocket scientist or anything or a computer engineer, but they could have done a little better than what they're doing now. Instead of being a ditch digger, they could be the head ditch digger on the crew. I know these people, and they just don't have the brains for doing tech work, and it wouldn't happen for them. I have talked to older relatives of mine, and apparently, back in the 60s and 70s, going to college and getting a 4-year degree was a much more uncommon thing than it is now. And so when someone graduated with a 4-year degree, they were instantly into a much better paying job, without even trying for it. And nowadays, a 4-year degree, that's not much better than having a high school diploma because so many people have a 4-year degree. Now, I have met people who had a lot of education and weren't doing good in the workforce. And I've met people who graduated high school and went to work for themselves, had no higher education, and they still made a pretty nice living for themselves. So I guess it's all a matter of what you can get into, what you can learn, what you can do on your own. And these days, college has become such a moneymaker for the companies who make all the college books and the universities They always want to charge you more, more, more and say, well, you have to take all these extra classes to get what they call a well-rounded education. Well, a well-rounded education ain't going to guarantee you a good job. Years ago, when I went through one fly-by-night computer school, they tried to pull this on me. Oh, you need to take a 5-credit English course to complete the course requirements. And I just told the administrator, no, I'm here to learn computer stuff. I'm not going to waste my time in an English course, and ultimately I was right. I quit the school when I had taken enough classes and I could see I wasn't learning anything more in these classes. I would ask the teachers questions and they couldn't answer me. Well, what kind of a teacher are you? I can learn this stuff on my own. And that's something a lot of people can think about doing. You don't necessarily need to get a college degree with all of the courses completed. You can just take the core classes to learn the real basics of the job there, all the important stuff, and then say, okay, that's enough right there. You can claim I have more or less the equivalent of the full degree without actually having it because I learned what's important without wasting my time on stupid stuff. When I was in college, I had to go through college algebra 1 in math. Never mind the fact that I knew I was never going to use this in the real world. And of course, I was right and never have since then. But you're still going to pass the class. So think about that. What have you done as far as how far you've gone in education? Have you learned a trade or a skill or become self-employed? Do you work for yourself or for some big company? And if you had a little more education, would that help you get a better job? Sometimes yes, most of the time no. I'm sure I'll think of something good after I end this video because I always do. But I think that I've covered it pretty well. You have to decide what is the right amount of education for the kind of work you want to do. In some fields, like medical or legal or engineering and stuff, you have to be in class a lot. And for a lot of other things, you can have a lot less education and still be able to do the job just as well. Then the problem becomes they won't hire you unless you have the actual degree. And supposedly having the degree, even if it is in a completely useless, unrelated subject, well, having the degree says you can complete something you set your mind to begin a task and end the task. Well, that's good in theory, but I think it doesn't really apply in the real world. So, well, that's my talk today about the work-education balance. Get enough without going crazy on it and wasting too much money, but then get yourself a good job and find your way to get bigger, better paychecks on your own. All right.